Hi there. I wanted to just talk about parts work for a few minutes with you. I encountered someone today, a lovely soul doing healing work, and she kept saying when I was asking her curious questions about her healing experience and the various parts of her that were showing up, she kept saying things like, I need to figure out that part, and I really need to figure out more about inner child work. And that was her phrase, figure out. And I hear that phrase a lot when it comes to healing work. And this is just indicative of our culture and the way we intellectualize and need to conceptualize and make everything real in our minds. Because if we can figure it out, then maybe we can fix it. And I said to her lovingly, how well is this figuring out working out for you? And she laughed. And I offered her the shift from I need to figure it out to I need to feel it out. I want to feel it out. It's time to feel it out. And I think that's what parts work can really open up to us, is the experience of feeling more compassion and connection with the various parts of ourselves, because this is what's required for healing. The more we try and push away parts of ourselves that are really getting loud because they need to be seen and heard and validated and acknowledged, the louder they get, right? And the more we can welcome them and bring them in and offer them connection and support and compassion, the more we integrate and heal that part. It feels antithetical. It feels like, well, why would I welcome in the anxious part of me? I don't want to be anxious, right? And I want you to just tease apart. There's a difference between the part of you that's experiencing anxiety and the behaviors associated with your anxiety, the checking, the fixing, the obsessing, the researching, right? Those are two different things. I'm asking you to draw the part closer. I'm not asking you to go deeper into the patterns that the part has created in order to feel safe. So that's the first piece here to consider when we're talking about parts work. So why do we even do parts work? Well, to back it up, to give credit to Richard Schwartz, he created IFS, Internal Family Systems, and his book, No Bad Parts, is wonderful. And I've found that some people get overwhelmed and a little bit can want to over-intellectualize the process by breaking it down into too many pieces, too many chapters. Well, which one's my firefighter and which one's my manager, right? There's all these great categories of parts in his book and in his theory, and it's wonderful, and people I know who've done his trainings love it. And if there's anything I'm good at, it's simplifying things. The more overwhelmed we feel in our healing experience, the more pressure we place on ourselves to figure it out, right? The more resistance we can encounter and the less actual healing work we're doing. So make things simple. Make things bite-sized. Here's my simple offering to you for how I see parts work, how I guide people in parts work, and maybe how it could work for you. See if there's a little nugget or tidbit in this. So why do parts work? It's efficient. It's really efficient. It can speed up, just like psychedelics, right? Just like microdosing, it can really speed up the process by which we start teasing apart the patterns that are not serving and kind of putting ourselves back together to reconnect and create patterns that do serve. It's a way of understanding our behaviors, of having a little bit more compassion for why we do the things we do. We've developed parts and protective parts through the years in order to keep us safe. And we're dimensional beings. This is what I love about parts work. It's just like, the part of me that used to hate making a mistake, she would be so consumed and it would feel like every part felt the shame of making a mistake, right? And really the truth is there's one part of me that has a protective response when she makes mistakes. And when I was able to tease that apart and see the part separate from my true self, separate from my highest self, separate from the part of me that knows there are no mistakes and I am whole and divine, right? I have so much compassion for this little one. A lot of these parts are developed when we're younger and as a result of trauma. I have so much compassion for this little one who doesn't like to make mistakes. And when she comes up, when I make a mistake and her energies are really present, I get to see her. I get to say, I know exactly what's happening with you right now, and I know what you need. It becomes a relationship between you and you. So it's efficient. It's an efficient way to do healing work. And it lets you explore your inner landscape in a way that feels really approachable. Really, it just makes sense. It's like there's this whole story with many characters and it's all happening inside of you. And with a breathwork journey, for example, we can close our eyes and move some air and take a microdose and go on this beautiful journey within to meet and converse with and connect with parts of ourselves so that we can bring soothing and resolution and connection and compassion and create more safety and opportunity for healing. It's really quite brilliant doing this parts work, and it's very deeply integrated into how I work with you in my containers. It helps create harmony within your system. So my experience of feeling like a whole person here now, only a few years after starting really trauma-informed work inside my body, mind, and spirit is largely due to parts work. Yes, I have these tools of microdosing and breath work and somatic experiencing, and I'm whole because I've called these parts home. And even now, as new variations of the parts and deeper layers of the parts are revealed, there's this welcoming energy to the way that I work with myself. I'm on my own side now because of parts work, as opposed to what is wrong with you, right? You're not healing right. You're messing things up. You need to do it this way. Oh, you must be in a setback, right? There's no setbacks, right? It's all part of the whole experience of becoming more whole. And parts work can really, really bring this into your experience. So let's talk about the parts. What are the parts? Some of you are like, which part are you talking about of me, right? My arm? I'm talking about parts of your consciousness, of your developed self, of your psyche, of your personality, however you want to look at it. I have 45 years of developing these parts. So classic, inner child work is actually asking you to access the part of you that's a child, put quite simply. And really, there is no one child. It's inner children, right? I've done parts work with my 1 minute old just born self. That's really powerful stuff. I've done parts work with myself in utero, right? That might seem a little out there, but really, really potent experience. I've done parts work with inner infant who maybe was in a crib crying. I don't know, but she needed some soothing at some point. I've done parts work with my inner toddler. She's really fun and adorable. I've done parts work with my inner school-aged elementary school little girl. You notice that I'm rocking and I'm patting my heart. I did not plan this or decide to do it. As soon as I started talking about my inner children, the part of me that knows what they need and how to soothe them, she came out, right? How cool is that? You can resource yourself through parts work. You can be what you need, what those parts needed then, and you can update them so that the you now is more secure because the you then gets what she needed then. There's no time in your brain. There's no time, right? We're collapsing timelines here. It doesn't matter, oh, that happened 40 years ago. How could I possibly go back and fix something that happened 40 years ago? Newsflash, you absolutely can, and it's extraordinary. So inner children, you can even go back, your inner teen, your inner adolescent. My goodness, I have just scratched the surface here with this one, only starting this past year with inner teen and adolescent work, but there's a whole world of opportunities and memories and experiences from my teenage years that I can still access and work with, right? What did she need? What did your inner teen need? Probably a lot of things. Can you separate yourself from her, orient to her as a separate, more capable adult part and meet some of those needs? Watch your healing accelerate when you look at it that way. And even young adult, I have done beautiful journey work going back to age 21, 22, 23, 24, when, let's face it, we were still children in a lot of ways, right? And helping that young adult understand more about life so that she was not as heartbroken by the experience of being human or a breakup, right? So yes, there are all the past parts that we can look at. You can do parts work with the part of you who 4 years ago experienced a trauma, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, yesterday, right? It's the past part. Any past part can be dialogued with, connected with. And then they're just the parts that show up on the day-to-day basis. So the part of you that experiences pain in your stomach, right? It doesn't have to be like a archetypal part. It can just be, oh, here is the stomach ache, and I'm going to place my hand on the stomach ache and connect with the part of me that experiences stomach pain. Yeah, and what's under that? Like, I'm feeling a little bit of grief rising up as I touch my stomach and say I'm going to connect with the part that feels pain. There's some grief there. So then I get to connect with the part that's experiencing grief under that stomach ache. It can be very, very layered if you continue to, play in the realm of inquiry, right? What's here now, right? And hang out there. What's here now? And hang out there. And the part who is avoiding and distracting, doing what she needs to do. I'm working with that part a lot these days. The part who needs some support, one who fixes and over-researches everything, the one who feels depressed and alone, right? Whatever you're experiencing, that part can be represented in this idea of separation from and connection to. And then there are protective parts. They're also parts, but they're parts that are developed in response to the trauma of being a human, the trauma of living in this world, and they have a purpose. Like the part that has panic attacks, right? The part that makes plans and then cancels them. The part that is a perfectionist and will not let anything be less than. The part that has impossible standards, right? Pretty close to the perfectionist. The part that judges and criticizes others. These are protective parts. Some people call this ego. I tend to not use the phrase ego. I think it is a little bit confusing and implies egotistical to a lot of people. And there's this whole idea that we need to like kill the ego. We need to break it down. We need to tear it down. We need to stop with the ego. And really, the ego or these protective parts are just wanting to keep you safe. They do serve a purpose. Now, as healing happens, these protective parts go from being like in the front seat, driving the car wildly at 85 miles per hour and screaming at everybody else in the car, to being safely buckled in the back seat, maybe in a 5-point harness car seat, right? And the true self, highest self part of you is actually in the driver's seat, right? That's what we want to see happen. We need to be alerted. We need protective parts to say to us, hey, someone's lying to you here, right? That gut feeling that you have, trust that, right? That protective part actually has some wisdom, but we need to keep them in check with the highest self part, with God, with the whole equation, right, of our healing experience. So notice your protective parts, how you're orienting to them now, right? Does a protector part, let's say the perfectionist, show up, and do you become fully encompassed by her or him, right? Do they become everything in that moment and you don't have perspective there isn't separation from the part to see like, oh, my protective part is like wanting to reshoot this video for the 3rd time, right? I know you feel so much better when we get it absolutely right. And those of you that struggle with perfectionism know what a lie and what a thief protective perfectionistic parts can be, right? That it's never quite enough. And so I want to just invite you to notice your protective parts and offer them a little bit of compassion. Offer them a little bit of conversation. I'm going to end on how to actually do this parts work for a minute here. You want to don't banish, don't blame, don't shame. Just offer acceptance and compassion to whatever part is showing up. This in and of itself is a massive practice. And then you want to build a relationship where you're able to converse with the part. Yes, even out loud. You want that part to be heard, to be valued, to be seen, to be understood, where you can say, just like I did in this video, oh, hey, little one, I see that you have a need. There's a symptom here. Something's happening. What's the need underneath that symptom? How can I best support you? It sounds crazy, right? Like multiple personality disorder. It's not. It's parts work. It allows you to integrate and bring together the pieces of your healing experience. I want to offer you the encouragement that you can do parts work, and you can just start with one part. Whatever part is showing up right now in any given moment, start to become aware, start to converse, start to build a relationship, and start to integrate and come into your wholeness. Enjoy doing your parts work. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave them in the comments of this video, and I'd be happy to dialogue with you a little bit.